I grabbed 2 tomato cages to get my porch ready for fall. I cut the tomato cage a bit shorter and then placed it upside down in a planter. I tucked the exposed wire parts inside a planter and tied the top 3 wires together with an elastic. I placed a few larger rocks in the planter pot so it wouldn't blow over. I grabbed some fall leaf garland I got from the dollar store and I wrapped it around the tomato cage. I twisted it onto the tomato cage, and as I wrapped it around, I kept adjusting the leaves so they were facing out. Then I wrapped fairy lights around, and I couldn't decide between the orange lights and the white lights, so I did one of each. Which color do you like better? Here's what it looks like during the day, and here's what it looks like at night. Aren't these fall leaf trees the perfect front porch decor for the season?
We're going to begin by assembling our base. Essentially, I'm just taking a scrap floral stem, adding some hot glue to it, and then we're going to place that on top of the brick of floral foam. After that, you can combine your 2 bricks. Now we're going to come back in with even more hot glue just to the back of one of these bricks. And this is the brick we're going to place on the bottom of our container. And we'll just place that right in the middle. So this container and all of the greenery you can find from nicksseasonaldecor.com. Now what we're going to do is we're going to cut off a stem. And I'm going to have a piece about this long. I want my topiary to be nice and tall. So add a generous amount of hot glue to the top of your bamboo stick and poke it right into a styrofoam ball. We're going to begin by prepping our greenery. So this greenery from our website comes in plastic sleeves. We're going to just remove that plastic sleeve. And depending on the greenery that you purchase, some of it is easily able to be lifted up. And that's exactly what we're going to do. We're going to pull this greenery to the surface. So once you pull it to the surface, what you can begin doing is just snipping off the stem. You don't actually need much stem in the end. You're only going to need about 1/2 inch to 1 inch. Any more than that, it'll become really difficult to insert into the ball. Now we're going to add hot glue to the ends of our stems. And all we're going to do is simply and solely poke them right into the ball. There's no rhyme or reason for my placement. I'm just trying to create an equal shaped sphere. And you might have to come back in with a piece or 2 to fill in, but it's really easy to assemble these things, you guys. Very, very easy, and it's already taking shape. Look at how pretty that's already looking. So this greenery is a eucalyptus, which kind of gives the same illusion as boxwood. So I finished one side of the ball, and I flipped it over, and now we're going to do the other side. This is how the first side looks, and look at how pretty that already is. So just want to complete the ball. However, if you're placing this somewhere where you're only seeing one side of it or 3 sides of it, by all means, skip the back. So far we've used a total of 6 of these. Let's come back in with a few more to finish it up. So now that we've given this ample amount of time for it to solidify, it's not going anywhere. And notice that I already poked in a hole using the other end of the bamboo skewer. We're going to take our scrap stem with some hot glue and just apply I don't want to say a very generous amount, a very light amount of hot glue. We don't want to overdo it. A little goes a long way with keeping the moss in place. And clearly this part can become messy, but look at how pretty that already looks. So now let's work in our topiary as well as a few pumpkins. Now we have our topiary, and I'm just going to find that hole that I already made. I only went in a little bit, and now we can go in all the way. And now that's nice and secure. So now let's accent this with a few pumpkins. So as I said before, you can switch this out for each season and holiday. And an easy way to do that too is create an everyday topiary and then work in a few seasonal touches like these pumpkins. Now we can just work in a few fall leaves for some added fall decor. And you can make this as simple or as complex as you would like. So now let's give you the grand reveal showing the entire topiary. And here is how our topiary turned out. I absolutely love it. And truth be told, you guys, this was very budget friendly. You can make these for $10, $15, $20, depending on the greenery you use. Dollar store styrofoam ball, a bamboo skewer from the garden, and that is it. So very pretty and easy to change out for each season and holiday.
Head over to the dollar store and grab a plunger for this awesome DIY. Add a dab of hot glue to the top of the handle and place one of the batches of leaves into the hot glue. Turn it over to the opposite side and add some more hot glue and another bunch of leaves. Continue moving down the plunger until you get the desired amount of leaves that you'd like. Next, you're going to need some white duct tape. Start by using small strips to hold and reinforce the leaves into place. Then wind the white tape down the entire plunger. Start bending all of the leaves out to make a tree shape. Grab some Apple Barrel multi-surface black paint and a paintbrush. Dip the paintbrush into the paint, then tap it onto the tape. This will give your tree bark a nice aspen or birch effect. Place the plunger onto a pizza pan. Wrap the pizza pan and the plunger base with some cloth and add some faux leaves to hide the base. Now it's ready to place somewhere in your home. Grab a foam pumpkin and remove the stem. Grab a piece of scrap fabric and start stuffing it around in a circle into the center of the pumpkin until the whole thing is completely stuffed into the center, wrapping all of the foam so that it's enclosed. Place the stem back on top, add some optional leaves if you'd like, cut a piece of twine, and add that to the stem as well for a vine effect. Now you have a wrapped pumpkin. And I hope this inspires you to create a fall tree and a fall pumpkin of your own. Again, I'm Chas from Chas's Crazy Creations. Thanks for watching Home Talk, and I'll see you next time.
Do you have dollar store pumpkins and don't know what to do with them? Let's give these beauties a colorful fall makeover. Take a larger faux pumpkin and remove the top stem. With some painter's tape, tape around the circumference of the pumpkin and press the edge of the tape against the pumpkin securely. Using a bold craft paint and a color you love, paint the top half of the pumpkin and let dry completely. Once dry, remove the painter's tape and paint the bottom half in a bold, contrasting color. You can tape off the top if you want, or just freehand paint to the edge like I did. While the pumpkin is drying, take some letterboard letters and spell out the word fall. Spell out the word twice, so double up on each letter. Yes, that is a lot of the letter L. With some tweezers, grab the corner of each letter and dunk in your craft paint. Dunk one set of letters that spell the word fall in one color of paint and dunk the other set in your contrasting color. Use a glue gun to glue the word fall to the pumpkin on the top half and along the line where the two colors meet. Glue the color of letters that contrasts with the colored section of the pumpkin. Glue them close to the line that divides the two contrasting colors. Take the second set of letters that contrasts with the bottom of the pumpkin and glue them upside down. Everyone will know the season when they see this adorable pumpkin. Take a colorful patterned paper napkin and separate the layers. You are going to use the layer that has the pattern on it. Remove the stem from a dollar store pumpkin. Brush decoupage glue to the entire outside of the pumpkin. Let it sit for a few minutes and then place the patterned napkin on top of the pumpkin. Working from the top down, press and smooth the napkin onto the pumpkin. Use your fingers to press the napkin into the grooves of the pumpkin. When you get to the bottom of the pumpkin, take some scissors and cut off the excess paper. Then apply some more decoupage glue to secure the ends of the paper to the bottom of the pumpkin. Now give the entire paper-covered pumpkin a full brushing of the decoupage glue. Let it dry completely and then poke the stem back into the top. The sky is the limit with all of the different paper napkin patterns you can use with decoupage no-carve pumpkins. Take a small dollar store pumpkin and remove its stem. Then take a larger dollar store pumpkin and remove its stem. Poke the larger stem into the smaller pumpkin, so you're just switching the stems. Next, gather some colorful small pom-poms. I took a dollar store pom-pom garland and cut the strings. With a glue gun, start gluing the poms onto the small pumpkin starting at the top. You can glue in a specific pattern, or if you like, just glue randomly like I did. Don't worry about gluing poms on the very bottom of the pumpkin. This perky pom-pom pumpkin couldn't be cuter sitting on a cart, bookshelf, or stack of books. I hope this inspired you to create no-carve decorative pumpkins with paint, glue, and fun embellishments.
Grab some Dollar Tree glass bottles for this spooky fun project. I started by mixing up some Mod Podge water and a little bit of used coffee grounds. Paint this mixture onto your glass bottles to give it an aged and worn look. Once you finish painting your bottles with this mixture, let it dry completely. To change up the color and the aged look, I mixed up a little bit of watered down paint with that Mod Podge mix. Paint that onto a different bottle, and then you can also add a little more of the dirty look by rubbing on some of those used coffee grounds. After rubbing on the used coffee grounds, then go ahead and give this another layer of your Mod Podge and paint mixture. Then I grabbed some brown cardstock and some of these potion label stamps to make labels for all of my bottles. Once I had all of my stamps done, then I just cut these down to fit onto the bottles. To really give these an aged and vintage vibe, I'm running some water around the edges, and then I'll tear my cardstock to leave those edges nice and rigid. To attach my labels, I'm using some Mod Podge on the bottle, and then I'll also add a little bit of Mod Podge to the back of the labels. Then just add your labels to the fronts of your bottles and add another coat of Mod Podge over the labels and the entire bottle to seal everything in. Once you're done, just let these dry completely, and then you're left with these creepy Halloween potion bottles. Start by gathering yellow, white, and orange balloons from your package. I started by cutting off the stem part and the bottom part of my white and yellow balloons. Work around your jar, pulling the edges of the balloon so that it covers the top part of your jars. You'll want to overlap each of your balloons just a little bit. Once I had both of my jars complete, then I just grabbed some Dollar Tree raffia and made little bows for around the tops of them. And then you're left with these candy corn inspired fall jars. Grab some Dollar Tree mason jars for this Halloween inspired project. I started by mixing some brown paint with a little bit of water and then used my paintbrush to dab this down into the jar. I continued working that watered down brown paint around in my jar until it gave a creepy, dirty look. Once the layer of brown watered down paint was dry, then I'm going in with some watered down black paint and my paintbrush and just dabbing this all over the inside of my jar to give it a spooky vibe. Then to finish these off, I grabbed some of my black creepy cloth, added it to the top of my jar. Then I screwed on these hanging jar tops over top of the creepy cloth. Snip the creepy cloth with some scissors and then tear it to give it a ragged look. Add in some LED candles, and then you have these spooky lanterns for Halloween. I hope this inspired you to get creative with Dollar Tree glass jars. Thank you for watching Home Talk. I'll see you next time.
Dollar Tree waste paper basket. What I'm going to do is I'm going to spray it with rustic orange spray paint. Feed the string right through the button. So we have a little X right there. And I'm going to feed these strings through. Just tie this. I bought a package of pumpkin felt shapes and bat felt shapes. If you just cut along the bottom, so I put the hot glue on, put our smile there. I'm going to cut out a triangle, a generous amount of my hot glue, press this right onto our waste paper basket. Next thing we want to do is our straw. You're going to bend it in half, take a pipe cleaner, pull it through, and twist that. Give your raffia like a haircut. And feed these through and give our scarecrow some straw hair. And we will give our scarecrow a nice little hat. Oh, you know what he needs? He needs a bow. Here is our little scarecrow all ready to greet friends by the front door. I have my Tide Pods container. Soak it in some hot water. Take this piece off. Cut some strings that are the right length and glue them to kind of give our pumpkin some depth. Trim off the bottom of these because I want this to set. I don't want it to be wobbling. Next thing I'm going to start doing is to paint. Give it a cursory coat. Now that the paint has dried, I want to put some floral foam in here. We have our last piece of floral foam in here, and I'm going to cut it just a little bit high. I'm going to add oak leaves, and then I'm going to add some beautiful fall blooms to it. And here is our beautiful fall arrangement in our pumpkin that started out as a Tide Pods container.
For today's project, we're going to start with some hula hoops. Take your first 2 hula hoops and you're going to place them one inside the other. Take a zip tie, join the 2 tops of the hula hoops. You're going to put 2 of those together, take off the excess zip ties right there, you turn it over, and we got to do the same thing on the other side. And now it's time to put the third one in. Again, using the zip ties, put them together. Since we're making us a yard pumpkin, we want to use a nice orange spray. The next step is we're going to use some of these fairy lights. Go ahead and zip tie the battery pack to the bottom. You're going to go up, down, and all around. Next, I got some 16 gauge wire, and we're going to make the stem. Make sure you have plenty of wire and just wrap it around. The last step was some small fairy lights. Wrap it all over around the stem. Use some wire or tent stake to hold your pumpkin down. And there we are. Once nightfall comes, use the remote, and there you go.
First, let's prep the pumpkins. Let's remove the stems by just pulling them from the pumpkin. I spray painted all of the pumpkins a basic white. I lightly sprayed the pumpkins with a green spray paint. Once they're completely dry, then we can reattach the pumpkin stems. I took an upholstery needle and pierced through the ball to create a little tunnel. And then I push floral wire through to the other side with the folded edge. Just twist it to create a loop. Then on the other side, you've got 2 little tails. Just take each one of those tails and just stick it into the side of the ball. Put some hot glue on the bottom of each pumpkin and stick to the styrofoam ball. You will notice there are still nooks and crannies, so fill those with moss. Tie a ribbon to the wire loop that you made earlier on. I hope you enjoy making this pumpkin ball. Thanks so much for watching.
To start this project, you're gonna need some wood crates. Start painting each of the wood slats, and I'm gonna go ahead and let this dry. And we're gonna go ahead and paint this side now. I'm going to take some painter's tape just to be my guide, and I'm just gonna go ahead and get up to that line, and I'm just gonna paint all the slats with this yellow color. Now I'm gonna take the tape and peel it off. Now for this one, I'll just paint the entire thing with the green paint. I just have a stick here that I got from the yard. I'm gonna stick it into the handle. I'm gonna tie it around. Next, I just got some faux leaves. I'm just gonna add a little hot glue in here. So I've got some hook and loop fastener here. Now that I have the length I need, I'm gonna peel the back off, place it onto the crate, peel off the backing, and I'm gonna go ahead and take that other board that I have and I'm gonna place it on top and adhere it. I'm gonna add a couple of buttons, cutting out a little nose, map out the face, And I hope this inspires you to create some lovely fall crate creations of your own. For this project, I'll be using a white pillow and hot glue on some large Google eyes. So I found this tank top, go right under the armpit, and I'm gonna go straight across, finish cutting all of these strips, and I'm gonna go ahead and lay them across the pillow. I'm gonna go ahead and trim up these extra scraps, and I'm just gonna start hot gluing on the straps. You're going to need an orange pillow or pillow cover. I'm gonna be using the adhesive felt. I've drawn some lines, and now I'm gonna use my scissors to cut them out and peel them off and stick them into place. I'm gonna hot glue this foam onto this foam felt, and we're gonna glue this on, and we're gonna let this dry, and it'll be a nice little embellishment. I'm going to draw the inside of this face and peel them off and stick them into place. So you've got your pumpkin on one side, and you've got your jack-o'-lantern on the other side.
I found this branch when I was outside and thought it would be perfect to make a fall tree. I want to mute these out a little bit, and I'm going to take some white craft paint and just mix in some fall colors with it. And I'm going to take a little bit of the paint and I'm just going to brush it on to the leaf. Put a little bit of mist on these so you can see the original colors here and how nice those are. I've gone ahead and grabbed a garden pot that I no longer need, and I need to position this branch inside the pot and just cut off long strips of the foam. And then I start using these foam chunks to secure the tree in place. So I'm just going to use some of this burlap ribbon to cover up your foam. Just use some sort of moss or bark trimmings. Just kind of give it some extra pizzazz at the bottom. Add some hot glue to the back of your leaf and then just attach it right to the little branches. I hope you'll give this a try the next time you want to spruce up a corner of your house.
First thing I'm going to do is assemble the lanterns. They're really easy to put together, and just paint the lanterns. Then set these aside and just let them dry completely. Let's make some leaves and stems, and then I'm going to go ahead and cut those out. I am just gluing on a green pipe cleaner. Grab some newspaper, roll this up, and secure it with some washi tape. Then I'm just adding some brown paint. Locate the top of the pumpkin, which has this little hook, and wrap the pipe cleaner once or twice around that hook. Now we're going to add a light to this. I'm just going to hang this right on the inside and secure the stem around the hook on the top of the pumpkin. Add a little bit of string so I can hang these up in my window. So I hope this inspired you to grab some paper lanterns and try your hand at making some pumpkins this fall.
I spotted these styrofoam pumpkins. So I'm going to come in with some Krylon primer spray paint, and I'm going to give these a very light coat. And then I took them back inside and I took some acrylic paint to cover these pumpkins. I next came in with this pickling white wax from Dixie Belle just in the indent lines. I also went over with a darker orange in the indent lines on some of the pumpkins. I'm going to take this dowel and I'm going to poke it down through the pumpkin. Then I'm just going to begin poking on my other pumpkins as well. Then I'm going to take this rustic bucket, I'm going to weigh it down with a rock, put some paper in, and then I'm going to push a styrofoam ball in there, and I'm going to push the end of the dowel into the styrofoam ball. I'm going to shove in some of this natural looking grass here, and then I'm also going to paint some of the stems of the pumpkins and stick them back in, and I'm going to decorate the tops of the pumpkins as well. I also made a little sign here for the top, and this is the finished look here. This looks so cute on my porch, and I'm so happy with how it turned out.
I want to just cut off the corners of this big hunk of styrofoam, but I'm going to wedge this all the way down. We're going to start with some fresh plants. Then back here, I picked a couple of mums, and I had some scraps of dowel rods, some beautiful silk leaves, and push these down in the middle of my styrofoam here. I have things like pumpkins that we're going to add. So I just picked up things that I thought were nice for fall and nice color, but would raise up above. And I had one of these inexpensive chain leaf garlands left, so I'm just going to cut it apart and add some of these. Here is my beautiful urn, and it just adds so much down here at the bottom of my steps. We're going to cut these into, I have a 6-foot piece of wood trim. use low temp glue and hot glue these on. What I'm gonna do is take it and lay it on top of the styrofoam. 2 pipe cleaners, hook them together. I am going to wrap these around the wood and the garland. And then we're just gonna take it and tighten it really tight. And then we'll come back and cut those off. And this is what you have now. I have gathered a selection of fall leaves and foliage, and we're just going to build this up with foliage now. So I'm gonna take my fruit, I'm gonna cut these skewers so it's a little shorter, and I'm gonna start to add fruit to styrofoam. So I have my little hook right here that I made. Yes. I'm gonna use these kind of command strips. You're going to hook 2 of these together, them really tight, and then you're gonna peel off to expose the sticky side. So we're gonna stick this right on the back of the wood. And now we're just going to press that right against the door frame. The entire front door is all finished with these beautiful pieces down the side and a wreath and a part over the top to match.
So I grabbed this tomato cage and I took some Behr Premium Black Matte spray paint and I took it outside and I spray painted just the vertical poles of the tomato cage. Once the spray paint was fully dry and I cut off the top portion of my tomato cage, I then came in with some very heavy jute twine. You just start at one spot on the circle and you just lay your jute twine over top and hold it there until the hot glue sets. Once the hot glue sets, you just take the jute twine and you wrap it all around the circle. And then I just finish it off by securing it with a bit of hot glue. And then I'm going to go ahead and repeat the process on the other side of the tomato cage. This is my finished tomato cage plant stand. I actually made 2 to have an elevated look for my fall moms and my fall porch.
I'm going to take the corners and I'm just going to cut them with my wire cutters just like that. So we've cut that in 2. And then we're going to go to the opposite corner and we're going to cut it one more time. And now we have 2 equal pieces. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this in half. I'm going to attach the wire over top of this oak leaf. So I'm going to take my wires and poke them right down in the foam. There we have something to begin to build up. But I'm going to go ahead and start adding some of these to my styrofoam. You don't have a stiff enough stem. You're going to take inexpensive wood skewer, lay it right next to the stem, and then I'm going to take some floral tape, wrap it around the stem and around the wood skewer. I can trim it longer, like so, and have it come way down there. So that's how you're going to add things to your foam. I'm going to go ahead and continue to build this up. These tend to slide out, so you're going to want to add just a little bit of hot glue to secure that so that it does not come out. So don't be afraid to use your hot glue to attach things. I like to use these command hooks where the back slides off of them, and I would suggest that you use these. I stuck that up there, and all I have to do is lift this up and hook it right on that little hook. So here's the front door, my wreath, and the lovely corners that frame the upper edge of my door. The very first thing I do is pick up my artificial pumpkin and I paint them. I need to draw a face on it, and now I am going to use my Versatool, which is like a hot knife, to go ahead and cut out my shapes. I'm going to add the black paint. So this is all the pumpkins that I have done. We're going to take each one of the jack-o'-lanterns and drill a hole at the top and the bottom. After they're drilled on, we just slide each jack-o'-lantern right up the pole. And then we take another piece of the pool noodle and we slide that right over the PVC. So I have fired up the glue gun. We are going to take these leaves that we are just going to cover these. We just slide the smaller PVC pole into the bigger one, and voila! Now I have finished the cross piece, and my dear husband is going to climb up and put it up there. The piece of PVC just slides right into that elbow. You cut the hole in the bottom and you feed the lights through, and then you cut the hole in the top and then you pull the lights. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stuff some plastic shopping bags down inside. I have gotten some Spanish moss that I'm going to drape out here. Here is our jack-o'-lantern arch during the day, all set and ready for nighttime to come.
I have one of those foam crafting pumpkins, and I want to make a hole in the top of this one and also in the bottom. Smaller pumpkin, and I'm going to cut a hole in the bottom. I have my drill and I have a longer drill bit on it, and I'm gonna just drill some holes around each of the pumpkins. And I'm just taking a small amount of brown paint and I'm just following the ridges of the pumpkin. I'm taking a small string of Christmas lights. I'm gonna pop some in there, and then I'm just gonna put the whole thing into the top of the middle pumpkin and run it out the bottom. And I'm gonna glue the pumpkins together. And now I'm gonna add a stem. I cut some bittersweet vine from my backyard, and I'm just gonna wrap it around the sections of the pumpkins. And here's our little pumpkin topiaries at night.
Run to Dollar Tree and grab 8 coils of nautical rope. I also pick up 2 of their pumpkin wreath forms. I start by adding some hot glue to the wreath form and begin to tightly wrap the rope around each spoke of the pumpkin. I continue doing this for all of the vertical sections. I do the same for the other pumpkin. Now I'm cutting off the excess rope. Then I use some thin floral wire to attach both wreath forms together. Using more hot glue, I start from the bottom and wrap the now connected edges with my rope. Once I have the entire outside of the now 3-dimensional pumpkin wrapped, I grab some thinner white cotton rope and wrap it around the wonky stem. Next, I place the wrapped pumpkin into a shallow basket. So I clip a few of these and I head back inside. I just tuck my hydrangeas into the gaps in the finished pumpkin to lay in the basket. I hope this inspired you to bring a little bit of fall into your home this week.
I picked up these 3 little wooden crates. So I've mixed up some brown milk paint that you just want to water down. And I want to make sure that I paint all sides and the inside. While my little crates are drying, I'm going to paint are these little gourds and pumpkins that I picked up at the dollar store. So I'm just going to take some of this pearl metallic paint and I just want to kind of brush it all over these. I'm just going to put some hot glue on the ends. And I'm just going to slide them together and hold them while they dry. I want to add some of this beautiful ribbon that I found. So I've gone ahead and made a little cut in the end just to make this a little nicer. Attach this down. I'm just going to take my knife, mark off where this would hit the top, and I'm just going to trim it a little bit shorter than where that is. I'm going to put a little bit of the hot glue, just a couple dabs down at the bottom, and that will hold my piece of foam right down there in place. And it's time to start filling those crates with some fall flowers. And don't forget, we have those little gourds and pumpkins that we added the white pearl to, and we can add those in as well. You want to grab some moss to finish this off. These little crates were perfect to turn into a fall centerpiece. It was quick and easy, and I absolutely love how it turned out.
Picked up several of these styrofoam pumpkins from the Dollar Tree, and I'm going to pull the stems off. I'm going to take my green paint, I'm going to do just a little veining down the indentations, put our brush in the orange paint and pull it down over that veining. But it's just going to soften those lines. I grabbed a couple of these garden dishes from the Dollar Tree, and I'm going to take them out and spray paint them. I am going to start by gluing one pumpkin down to stick one of these little stems back in here. I'm just going to take one of these skewers, cut that and stick it. Go back in with our glue and secure it. And then I'm going to add one more pumpkin to the top. I'm using low temp glue because this styrofoam will melt. I'm adding candy corn to the bottom. We have pumpkin placemats, and everybody gets a little jar full of candy corn. Head to Dollar Tree and pick up some of those styrofoam pumpkins and make some of these for yourself for these holidays.
We're gonna grab 4 pumpkins and we're gonna pull off the little stems. We're gonna take the small one, put it on top, and grab a taper candle. The taper candle is gonna be the guide to make a hole. Then you're gonna take an X-Acto knife and you're going to take out the area that you just drew and see it fits perfectly. So put a big blob of glue and put your little pumpkin on top. So we're gonna grab 2 little wooden rings, put that at the bottom, and now they are totally stable. So now we wanna take some faux branches and make this really festive. You're gonna grab your hot glue and put a little dot of glue in between the two pumpkins and start adding in your pieces of the branches. And these are just some mini pine cones. And we're just gonna hot glue those in a couple areas on our candle holder, and they're ready to display. Look how cute they are. I set up a little table arrangement on my outdoor dining table, and I think it looks super festive.
What we want to do is take our foam pumpkins and we're going to remove these stems. Just push them down until you have them pretty flat. So we've got our 2 plates, our 2 pumpkins, and we're going to use epoxy. So I'm going to put a nice generous portion on the bottom of my plate here, and I'm going to take my pumpkin and just stick it to the bottom of my plate. And then all you need to do is leave it and let that epoxy dry. Now that I've let my 2 sides sit for just a minute so that the epoxy starts to dry, and I want to again put a nice generous portion of the epoxy and mix it up to each side of the pumpkin here. And then I'm going to attach my 2 sides together. So I'm going to start with this beautiful bronze paint. Now I want to take a little bit of gold and I'm going to just lighten this up a bit and give it some highlights. Here you have our beautiful fall pumpkin inspired cake plate.
We're gonna start with 2 bins, some pine cones. I'm gonna go ahead and start by pouring my bleach into one of my bins. Be very careful when pouring your bleach. Start very carefully adding your water. 4 parts water to 1 part bleach. And now I'm going to take my pine cones and you're just going to go ahead and put them all in your bin. And now I'm going to take my empty bin and set it right on top of the pine cones. My gallon water container, and I'm going to set that on top, and my gallon bleach container, and those will weigh the pine cones down so that they are now submerged. Leave those for 24 hours. As your pine cones start to dry, they're going to start opening up. Start with a big piece of this brown paper. Started with a couple of rough cut wood rounds, and I'm going to start tucking these beautiful pine cones. And then I'm going to add some of these dried grasses in some pieces of raffia and tied them in a knot. And then I'm going to mix the knots in. So my table is set and my beautiful bleached pine cone centerpiece is the star of the table. So I'm going to start with these. So I'm going to use these for chargers, some birch logs on this kind of pine cone garland. So I'm going to put that down first, and then I'm going to intertwine it with my birch logs. And I'm just going to work these in to our garlands here. I'm going to tuck some of this down in to give us some more texture. I have a whole bin of bleached pine cones, and I'm going to add several of those. This cute little sign, I'm just going to try and add that right here. These cute little, I think they're supposed to be Christmas ornaments, and I'm just going to tuck those in around. And the next thing I'm going to do is add my dinner plates. I'm just going to use these orange napkins, tie them in a little knot, and just put them right like so. I have a few wood slices around, so I'm just going to tuck them. We're going to add wine glasses. Made little appetizers into little campfires. How cute are those? And I'm just going to set those right on top. I'm going to go ahead and set this. Nice little camping tablescape. Like I said, it's something you could use for lots of different occasions, and you can mix it up a little bit differently. If you're not familiar with these paper runners, they are fabulous. Any paper can do. This actually is an antler that my husband picked up. I'm just going to start with my centerpiece and just tuck these white pumpkins. I'm just going to start tucking these in around our pumpkins. I have some various feathers, and I'm just going to tuck these into. So I'm going to go ahead and set my table. When you put these down, and then I put my dinner plates on them, and I just thought it added another texture. So what I'm going to do with just setting my table for 6 green cloth napkins, and I'm just going to take them like so and pull them right through my napkin ring. I'm going to go ahead and add my flatware, and I will just pop him here at the end of the table. Add my crystal stemware to each place setting. and we will be ready to let people come, get in line, and head to the kitchen to eat.